Good morning, fourth graders. Today is June 5th. It's Friday. So the last part of our inquiry this week is we're going to be looking at two primary source documents, and they're specific to the California Native Americans and how the gold rush impacted them. Today you're going to be seeing a word, genocide. Genocide is a very sensitive word. Genocide is the deliberate killing of a group of people based on their ethnicity. So when you see that word, you know what it means, okay? It's a very heavy word. So we're going to look at the impact of the gold rush on the California Native Americans. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Again, you're going to find your document in Schoology. It's going to be Social Studies 4.3 for June 5th, and you'll know in the correct one. Again, the document will be on there when you click on it, as well as this video. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to click on the document right here. Okay, so the first primary source you see is, it's called A Genocide Against California Indians, and it's from Governor Peter Burnett, and it's his annual address to the California legislature. So this is in 1851. So 3 years after the gold rush started, the finding of gold in Sutter's Mill. So again, genocide means the deliberate killing of a group of people. So it says genocide against California Indians. So the deliberate killing again of California Indians. Okay, so I'm going to read this excerpt from his annual address, and it says, like the people of all thinly populated but fertile counties who are bled to supply the simplest wants of nature from the spontaneous productions of the earth, they are, from habit and prejudice, exceedingly adverse to manual labor. While the white man attaches but little value to small articles and consequently exposes them, the more carelessly he throws in the way of the Indian that in which is esteemed by him as a great temptation and a great prize. And as he cannot make, I believe it says the article, and thinks he must have it, finds theft the most ready and certain mode to obtain it. Success in trifles, but leads to attempts of greatest importance. The white man, to whom time is money, and who labors hard all day to create comforts of life, cannot sit up all night to watch his property, and after being robbed a few times, he becomes desperate and resolves upon a war of extermination. So extermination is like, if you have bugs, you're going to get rid of them. This is the common feeling of our people who have lived upon the Indian frontier. The two races are kept asunder by so many causes, and having no ties of marriage or consanguinity to unite them, they must remain at enmity. So saying that the white people and the native people are now enemies. That a war of extermination will continue to be waged between the races until the Indian race becomes extinct, and must be expected. While we cannot anticipate this result, but with painful regret, the inevitable destiny of the race is beyond the power or wisdom of man. Okay, so he's talking about the people who came to California to mine for gold. Of course, they claim property as their own. He's saying that the white man is saying that the native people are coming onto their land, their property, stealing things. And now it has become a war between the white men and the native people. And what will happen is that they will soon become extinct because of it, right? Okay, so So just a little bit more information. So remember, Native California people who lived in Northern California were some of the first people to mine for gold when the gold rush began. Some worked for themselves, and many others worked in groups for Mexican Californian ranchers called Californios. In the months after the gold rush began in the winter of 1848, tens of thousands of people from around the world arrived in California. This sudden population growth caused a lot of tension between the newcomers, native people, and many Spanish-speaking residents of California. Americans and others from Central and South America brought many animals with them that ate native people's food and destroyed their water supplies with their waste. Native people responded to these newcomers in many ways. Native people traded and worked with the newcomers. They moved away from them, and sometimes Native people stole from them or fought with them. Newcomers to California also responded to Native people in a variety of ways. Some tried to help Native people, while many others used violence, intimidation, and local laws to push Native peoples out of the mines and off valuable farmland. At the same time, other groups of Americans wanted to stop this violence. They argued that the government should remove Native people from lands that Americans wanted. These people, called reformers, wanted to put Native people on reservations where government officials could protect Native people and change them through schoolwork and church programs. The quote by California's first governor, Peter Burnett, describes some of the tensions between the Native people and Americans who moved to California during the gold rush. Governor Burnett had a simple and negative view of Native people. He did not seem to understand their cultures and the many reasons for their actions. Okay, so just like we saw with the foreigners coming to California, there was a sense of racism. And even though the California Native people were already there, the newcomers were being racist against them. So the question you're going to answer with that primary source is, what are some of Burnett's complaints about Native people? So what does he say about them? And using that source, describe the impacts that Americans had on Native people. How might the changes that Americans brought to the Native people's land affected the relationship between Americans and Native Californians that Burnett described? So we already know there was tension. So how did it impact them? The second source is called Genocide Against California Indians, Native People in the Yosemite Valley and on the Merced. And this is in 1924, okay? And here's a little photo here. So just to give you some information, the area around the Merced River is home to the Southern Sierra Miwok, the Northern Yukot, and the Paiute peoples. The people living along the Eastern Sierra and into the Yosemite Valley harvested acorns as an important source of food that could be stored year-round. They also had a variety of other plants and animals available in the mountains, foothills, and the plains that surrounded their land. They hunted deer and rabbits, pronghorned antelope and elk, and some groups sent hunting parties after grizzly bears and black bears. The warm furs from some of these animals provided important clothing during the cold winters in the Yosemite Valley. People also fished and caught many different types of birds for food. From the 1850s to the 1880s, many thousands of newcomers moved into Miwok, Yukot, and Paiute people's lands, as well as the lands of dozens of other Native communities in Northern California, including the Pomo, Wintu, Tolowa, Maidu, Hupa, and many others. These newcomers hunted the same animals that the Native people hunted. They ate the same plants, and they brought animals that ate grasses and seeds that the Native people used in their daily lives. Many Native communities struggled to survive during this time. Some of the groups were completely wiped out, while others found ways to survive in the changing world. Okay, So this image is a photograph of a Southern Miwok man fishing in the 1920s. What does this image tell you about the impact of the foreigners on Southern Miwok people? How do you think Native people felt about the changes the newcomers brought to their lives? So this is 1924, and he's fishing in the stream there. How, how much did this impact their lives? Okay, use the information from the picture and also the information in the reading that I just read to you. When you're done, you can go ahead and submit that to your teacher. And then you are done for today. And we'll continue our inquiry more next week to see the impact of the California Gold Rush on California and the people that were living there. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. Bye.